G'day, Noel McInnes here and welcome to Ask Noel. This is the very first episode and the very first question, and I'm going to leave this one anonymous. It says, I'm obsessed with receiving results to the point where I experience extreme anxiety if I even think about having a break. How do we allow ourselves to not beat ourselves up for not working? Okay, so obviously this is pretty much the complete opposite of what I normally get. Most people are procrastinating all the time and they want to work more, but they're finding it hard to find the motivation. So I can actually see all the positives on this side. For me, the first thing I see is, when I get people with this sort of problem, the first thing I have problems with is that they're scared of losing the anxiety because they think that if they lose the anxiety, they're also going to lose their work ethic. That is not the case. So I want to first point that out. And I say it to a lot of people, and I have to take them through the fact that the stress is actually not helping you work harder. The work ethic will stay because you're obviously very driven for success already. So that's the first thing I want you to know. The second thing is, whenever I see anxiety, anxiety is the fear of the future. So in your mind, you've got a fear of what is going to happen if you take a break. Now, when we have anxiety, which is a very strong stress response, often it's because of things in the past. We're scared of the past repeating. So I would imagine, just from my experience, that there's something in the past, probably in childhood, that you need to remove. It doesn't have to be extremely traumatic, but it's going to be something you're at the point you would have taken on a belief about needing to work all the time, and maybe laziness leading to some sort of emotional pain. So we have to work through that. Once you work through the past, the future normally opens up, and whenever anxiety is present, often that's what I look for, is something in the past. Now, if that's not the case, then there's still going to be some sort of limiting belief there, a belief that if I'm not busy all the time, I can't succeed. So I'd imagine it's something along those lines. But in my mind, that's actually a limiting belief, because the way I see it is, if you're stressing, you're actually less productive than if you're very clear-headed. So I believe if you were to spend 15 minutes with certain tools, I use EFT as the quickest one, emotional freedom techniques. If you were to spend 15 minutes in removing your stress every 2 hours, then the remaining hour and 45, you would be more productive than if you had gone the whole 2 hours straight, as well as feeling much better and feeling less stressed and being more creative. So I'd work on the limiting beliefs there. So for you at home, if you're not going to come and see a coach like myself, the first thing I'd work on is what am I actually scared of happening if I take a break? Now, consciously, you can think, well, there's probably nothing can happen if I take a 15-minute break. But the unconscious response is what we're looking for. That's where the anxiety is coming from. So a good way to do this is to journal. And if you write down the question, if I take a break, ... and just fill in the lines as quickly as possible, probably just keep repeating the question, writing it out over a whole page. And after a while of just non-stop writing, your brain starts to go unconscious and you'll start to bring out what you really believe is going to happen. It's going to be quite an irrational thought, most probably, but it's not what your conscious thinks, it's the unconscious part that's creating the anxiety. So it's a problem, but it's definitely really easy to get rid of. And most importantly, you don't have to get rid of your work ethic to get rid of the anxiety. So that's probably the most important thing for you to know. And if you start to work with some basic NLP, I always recommend the book by Anthony Robbins, Unlimited Power. It teaches you how to start running your brain pretty easily, and you can start to change the pictures in your mind, because the thought is creating the emotion is the anxiety, and the thought is of some sort of negative thing happening if you take a break. So you'd have to start changing that picture in your mind. In this 5-minute video, that's about as much as I can say, but if you want to do work on your own, go get some NLP work and start to look at the limiting beliefs there about what's going to happen if you take a break. And if you can start to work on those two things and just rationalize your way through them, you'll start to realize that what you're thinking is probably irrational, and that anxiety will start to fade away. So I hope that helps. It's probably there's a bit of work to be done there, but actually in one session with a good therapist, you'll be able to get rid of that very quickly.